No college degree, more employers than ever don't care. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video, guys. I just happened to see this article on CNN today titled No College Degree, More Employers Than Ever Do Not Care. Now, the whole topic of college and our college education's a ripoff. Is college worth it? Is college outdated? Is college still relevant? These discussions are more common today than ever. I was kind of surprised when I was talking to two relatives of mine who are teachers recently. And normally people who are teachers like really push education and respect education. And I was surprised to hear them say they don't think that they're going to wind up encouraging their kids to go to college unless they have a very specific career track in mind, maybe something in medicine, something in teaching, something in accounting or engineering. But outside of that, they said they weren't going to encourage their kids to go to college. And especially among you and I, the entrepreneur community, I would say almost every entrepreneurship, every make money online YouTube channel has some video talking about college is a ripoff or questioning is college a ripoff. You know, I think at one time, college degrees really put you ahead of the pack. And even though less than half of American adults, half of American working adults have a college degree, there has definitely been an inflation on education. College degrees are no longer necessarily anything special. They don't guarantee you a good job and a comfortable life. And so many people are going into these, liberal arts, random degrees. I'm not knocking you guys if you have one. I have a liberal arts communications degree, which in many ways is worthless. When you come out of college, unless you've gone for accounting or engineering, medicine, law, something very specific, almost nobody is actually able to hit the ground running and be a productive member of a company. If you come out of college with a marketing degree, a business administration degree, communications, even worse, history, basket weaving, leisure studies, and you go into a company, you don't know any, we could go into any number of different career fields, but I mean, if you go into something in like marketing or business, you probably don't know anything about graphic design. You probably don't know how to run PPC ads. You probably don't know anything about SEO. You probably don't know very much about copywriting. There's very few college degrees that actually teach somebody something to where they can actually go into the workforce and hit the ground running day one. And what we are starting to see more of is a lot of these programs pop up. I actually did a video with a buddy of mine, Jared Harlan. He's a copywriter. We did one interview about copywriting, and I actually had him on another time to talk about a program called Praxis that he went through. Now, how Praxis works, it's a 1 year, we'll call it like a trade school for white-collar jobs. It only costs like $11,000 or $13,000. The first 6 months of it is intensive online study. The second 6 months, you're actually working in your industry for a real world company. And so when you wind up finishing, not only did it not cost you money, but you're actually going to come out ahead. Now, granted, you are paying $11,000 or $13,000 for the program, but at the end of the program, you've been working the second 6 months. So you made all that money back plus some, and you actually have real world experience. Think about it. If you go to college, you're giving away 4 years of your life. Plus, how many nonsense classes are you taking? I remember in college, I took a pistol and rifle class. I took a bowling class. I took a racquetball class. I took all types of kind of random leadership studies, culture studies. Not that these aren't good things or that they didn't make me a well-rounded individual. But if my goal is to get a job and be a productive worker or a productive member of a company, the basket weaving, I'm not even lying about this, pistol and rifle, racquetball, bowling, these things weren't necessary. If I wanted to learn bowling, I could have gone to a bowling alley and paid $3 a game to bowl, whereas instead I probably paid $1,000 for this class at college. And I gave up 4 years of my life. And so what Praxis does, it's a 1 year program. You come out with real world skills and you're actually able to be a productive member of a company or a productive worker from day one. And what we're starting to see is a lot of companies are actually rolling out their own training programs, which we're seeing here. A lot of companies like Amazon, IBM, a lot of other companies, they're starting to either partner with kind of fast, streamlined education programs, or they're creating their own, and it's a lot shorter. It doesn't cost people money. it's actually more equitable because in some ways college is kind of a caste system, right? Not everybody has money to go to college. It's really difficult to work a full-time job and be able to schedule classes. Think about like fraternities and sororities, right? Like great networking opportunities come out of those, but you pretty much have to be rich to be in one, right? Like you need what, $1,500 or $2,000 per semester to pay the dues. Plus you need money to participate in all their social activities. You may wind up having to live in their house, which costs a lot of money. And it's basically kind of a caste system that, okay, if you have enough money to be part of this fraternity, you're kind of in this secret club and you get access to our kind of networking opportunities. And college is kind of the same thing, right? Like if you can afford to work part-time or not work at all for 4 years of your life, if you come from a good family, you're kind of vetted, and now we're going to let you into college, which is going to give you, the golden ticket to a white-collar job. I think college in many ways is pretty pointless, but at the end of the day, you get that piece of paper. And at least when I was back in high school, that's kind of what guidance counselors, parents, teachers all said, I don't know what I'd want to do. I don't know if I'm cut out for college. It doesn't matter. Just go get that piece of paper, because that piece of paper is what's going to get you in the door. We've talked about labor shortages. Almost every industry is experiencing labor shortages. We've seen the chaos of Southwest recently. People are still arguing whether that's over the thing in your arm mandate and pilots protesting, or whether Southwest has just been short-staffed for a long time. And as travel picks up, it's causing chaos. But, almost every industry is short-staffed. I got some crazy articles for you guys to look at here. Here's one from CNBC. I'll probably be covering these individually in individual videos. Let's make sure this is still recording. Okay, it is. A record 4.3 million people quit their jobs in August, led by food and retail industries. So, a lot of people thought when unemployment ended September 6th, enhanced unemployment, a lot of people would come rushing back to the workforce. We're actually seeing more people quitting their jobs than ever, which is kind of crazy considering people aren't going to be getting that sweet $600 a week from the federal government. We see that this is led by food and retail. Over half of people working in food, retail, and hospitality don't want to go back to that industry. If we take a look at this article here, Americans are quitting their jobs at record paces. Again, 4.3 million left their jobs in August. Here's another one, the great reimagination of work, why 50% of workers want to make a career change. So even among the people who aren't leaving the workforce entirely, a lot of people are changing careers. Here we have why some young workers are leaving their office jobs to work on farms. This is how I want my life to go. I think a lot of younger people are realizing that, keeping up with the Joneses and having the newest car and all of this is kind of bullshit if you're not enjoying what you're doing, if you're spending so much time at work that you don't have any time to enjoy your free time, or you're so tired when you get home that you aren't able to enjoy yourself. And then another thing that comes to mind is something Joe Rogan talks about a lot. He says, at one time, one guy was a blacksmith and one guy made furniture, and you did the entire job yourself. So you started with a block of wood and you continued working with that block of wood until it was a table or a chair. But nowadays, so many of us have, quote unquote bullshit jobs. There's a great book out there called Bullshit Jobs. If I remember to, I will link to it in the description box below. Basically how most of our jobs are bullshit. But also, even if you are, even if you do build furniture, even if you do work with wood, everything has become so specialized and segmented that maybe you only make the legs for the chairs, or maybe you only make the tabletops, and you don't see everything come together and become a finished product. And you don't have as much of a connection to your work and kind of a sense of pride as you did, years ago when jobs were much less specialized. But a lot of people are, deciding to kind of get simpler jobs and get simpler lives. And then we have this article here. This 42-year-old saved $660,000 and moved to Mexico after losing her six-figure job. She says, I realized I could have a different life. I haven't read this article yet, but this one kind of reminds me of the FIRE movement, the FIRE lifestyle. I've talked about that a lot on this channel. If you watch this channel, you've probably heard about it. The whole idea behind FIRE is figure out what brings you happiness and what brings you value. Things that don't bring you value, cut mercilessly in those areas, cut your spending, spend on things you enjoy. Try to up your income and cut your expenses. Try to be able to live on 50% of your income so that you can save and invest the rest. Save up a big sum of money, and, you know, maybe in your late 20s, your early 30s, mid 30s, 40s, be able to retire and kind of leave the rat race. And maybe we'll probably wind up making a video about this, but it sounds like that's what this woman did as well. And so this also accounts for people leaving the workforce. Well, hospitality, retail, and restaurants have been most affected by worker shortages and people leaving. It's really affected all industries, and this article kind of talks about how less and less companies care whether you have a degree. If you are in college right now, you know, this might make you want to question, depending on how deep you're in and how much money you're going to spend to get this degree, is it worth it? And I would imagine if you're somebody who's graduated within the past couple years, this is probably really frustrating that you went tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt, wasted 4 years of your life. And as it turns out, employers may not care about that expensive piece of paper you had anyways. Again, this one comes to us from CNN. It's titled "No College Degree. More employers than ever just don't care." If you don't have a 4-year college degree, you're hardly alone. The majority of the U.S. working age adults do not. You may assume you have little chance of developing a well-paying career with benefits and growth potential at a Fortune 500 company. After all, so many jobs require a bachelor's degree. But your chances may be better than you think, thanks to a growing network of white-collar apprenticeship programs that lead to jobs at blue-collar employers, including big tech players like Google, Amazon, and Salesforce. And in that Praxis program that I told you guys about, my buddy Jared went through for copywriting. I believe they also had like a programming or coding section. I think they had like a graphic design. And I think they had like a sales and a marketing program. But it sounds like these programs are becoming much more prevalent. Such programs result in paid on-the-job training, benefits, coaching, and access to employee and alumni networks. Over the past 5 years, employers have been trying to solve for two things. One is a long-predicted labor shortage, especially in technology. The other is a need to actively address systematic inequalities and unconscious biases in their hiring and practices. To stay competitive, they've realized they have to broaden their search for high potential candidates, since there is now a greater recognition that no race, ethnicity, gender, zip code, or diploma has a monopoly on talent. "We're a talent-based company. It's our only asset, so we've widened the aperture," said Pallavi Verma, a senior managing director at a consulting firm, Accenture, which created the first apprenticeship program in 2016 in Chicago and has since brought on 1,200 apprentices across 35 cities. The program is part of our talent strategy. Year Up is an organization that provides tuition-free college credit-eligible job training in 29 U.S. locations, and like many nonprofits and community colleges around the country, it partners with employers like Accenture to find high-potential apprentices. Year Up specifically provides business and technical skills training to prepare potential candidates for a corporate job before recommending them to an employer. The group's main mission is to help close the opportunity divide, especially for minority applicants. Requiring a 4-year college degree excludes 70% of Black Americans and 80% of Latinos, said Morris Applewhite, Year Up's chief corporate engagement officer. A few years ago, Chance Rodnez, now 30, found his way to Accenture after graduating from one of Year Up's tuition-free programs. After working as an Accenture apprentice, he got hired full-time as a junior analyst. Since then, he said he's been promoted twice and now works as a cloud computing senior analyst. It's been a life-changing experience, Rodness says. And here's why these programs are so great, right? This guy who probably otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford college winds up not only getting free training, but also getting paid for that training. He didn't waste 4 years of his life. He had 1 year of on-the-job training, and he's already had 2 promotions. So this is good for him, and it's also good for the companies who are dealing with this labor shortage. Big Blue moves towards more skilled-based hiring. IBM was one of the first tech companies to create an apprenticeship program, which started in 2017. By the end of the year, it will have trained more than 1,000 apprentices and hired the majority of them, said Kelly Jordan, IBM's Director of Career Skills and Performance. Its average apprentice salary is about 50% higher than the average local income where a person is working, according to the company. And once someone is hired, they typically see a bump in pay from there. Up to 20% of US-based IBM employees do not have a college degree. But of course, moving up the ladder at many big companies will eventually require candidates have a bachelor's degree or higher. Apprentices may find support in that regard as well. At IBM, for instance, some of its training courses can earn apprentices college credits, up to 45 in the case of its software engineering apprenticeship. And here's what's kind of silly, right? Like IBM kind of realizes that college is kind of pointless and that they should hire for talent. But then eventually at some point to move up the ladder higher, to move a couple rungs higher, you eventually will need a college degree. Now, it's good that they're going to help you get that, but it seems to kind of contradict their whole mission here. At Bank of America, job candidates without college degrees can be considered for entry-level and sometimes higher positions through an internal program called Pathways, which offers on-the-job and related training, a coach, as well as pay and benefits, including tuition reimbursement for college. To date, the company has hired 10,000 people from low and middle-income communities through the program and aims to hire 10,000 more by 2025. More apprenticeships are likely. There's reason to believe the availability of apprenticeships and greater emphasis on skills over degrees and hiring will grow. Together with Aon, Accenture has created a playbook for other employers to use as a guide in creating their own apprenticeship programs. Meanwhile, there is heightened interest in closing opportunity and wealth gaps. At the end of the last year, a coalition of CEOs formed 110, a nonprofit aimed at advancing the goal of hiring and promoting and advancing 1 million black people without four-year degrees into family-sustaining careers over the next decade. And employers that don't have infrastructure in place to directly source, train, and coach high-potential apprentice candidates can now work with a company like Multiverse to help create and manage apprenticeship programs for them. The UK-based company was founded in 2016 and just began operating in the United States this year. Since its founding, it has provided vetting, training, coaching, networking, and placement of 5,000 apprentices across more than 300 employers. Just over half of its program participants are people of color, half are women, and a third come from under-resourced communities, the company said. The vast majority of apprentices who complete their program stay at the employer for at least 2 years. So far, Multiverse has acquired 12 U.S. clients, including Google, Verizon, and ClassPass, but that number could more than double by year end, said Sophie Ruddock, Vice President and General Manager of its North American operators. We're seeing demand take off. And again, these programs are getting much more popular. Another thing that's getting popular is colleges who provide continuing education. You know, it's one thing to go to college through 4 years, leave and never learn anything again, or you know, be responsible for your own career development. Whereas a lot of employers are saying they kind of like this model where somebody signs up for college, but they get lifelong training, they get updated training, they get resources to help them move further in their careers. But this one again comes from CNN. No college degree, more employers than ever just don't care. As always, would love to hear your guys' thoughts, so drop a comment down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button below. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.